Alright, what is up YouTube? Today we got another fighting game live action video for you guys, as today I'm going to be reviewing the Hollywood Dead or Alive movie. Yes, that's right, Hollywood did make a movie based on the Dead or Alive franchise. Now I will say this, Dead or Alive is one of my favorite fighting game franchises of all time, and Dead or Alive 5 is actually one of my favorite video games of all time. So I am a really huge fan of the Dead or Alive series. But yeah, if you guys have checked out the gaming channel or my streams over on at Twitch, I play a lot of Dead or Alive 6, and yeah, on the gaming channel I have a lot of Dead or Alive 6 videos. So yeah, I play the game a lot. I really do love the series. So I was kind of intrigued when I found out that there was a Hollywood movie of Dead or Alive. So of course I was really excited to watch it. What did I think of the film? Let's get into it. I feel like I had really low expectations, and I mean that's to be expected. It's a Hollywood movie of Dead or Alive, and at the time this movie was made, I'm pretty sure no one knew what the hell Dead or Alive was, because most of the time I feel like I'm the only one that knows what Dead or Alive is in the first place when talking about fighting games. And for the most part, I have to introduce people to Dead or Alive because they have no idea what it is. And then when they find out, they're like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like, there's no way that Hollywood writers and directors knew what the hell Dead or Alive was when they made this project. So my expectations were very low. And obviously I saw that, you know, there were bad reviews of the movie, obviously. But I feel like upon watching this film, the people that gave this movie a bad review on IMDb, or like said that the movie was really bad or whatever, I feel like the people that did that just had no idea that it was even based on a fighting game franchise, that it's a fighting game live action adaptation. I feel like those people were probably just people that for some reason went to the theater to watch this movie, had no idea, you know, they just were like, oh, let's watch a movie. They picked this one and they watched it and probably just thought it was terrible. I can see that, I can see why, you know, but I feel like as a Dead or Alive fan, there was a lot for me to kind of be like, oh, like I kind of appreciate it, and my expectations were set lower than someone who doesn't know anything about Dead or Alive, because me playing the Dead or Alive games, I can tell you that the story modes are not great. The story modes have never really been great, have never really made any fucking sense at all. I mean, sure, there's been cool moments. It's always cool seeing cutscenes of like these characters interact with each other, but there's never really been a good story mode in Dead or Alive or the Dead or Alive games. There's always like cool moments and then everything just feels random, like random as hell. And that was one thing that was like, well, yeah, I don't really expect a good story from like a Dead or Alive movie, or like, you know, something that's gonna make me cry or something like that. I mean, Dead or Alive as a franchise really isn't like that deep, or like isn't like melodramatic or anything like that. So like me personally, all I wanted from this film was something that is sexy, sleazy, and has like some really cool fights, and just something that's fun to watch. And honestly, I got that. Like I got that, and that's why I pretty much enjoyed this movie. Like I was very entertained, and you know, it was fun to watch. Like the fights were actually pretty good in this movie. And again, like it's not like I'm expecting a masterpiece of storytelling or story writing, since the original franchise really never has had that in the first place. Yeah, I mean, like what more can you really want? I feel like it really delivered in those fields. There were a lot of shots that definitely stuck to the DOA tradition of being sexy. And I'm glad, I'm very glad. But it wasn't like done in a way that was like, you know, too much, right? Like it was done in a way that was like film sexy, you know, and I feel like it really worked. Like it was cool. Like I actually really liked it. And also like there was a lot of, like I said, really good fights in this. Like there were some genuinely pretty cool scenes when they actually got to the fighting and everything. I remember when Zack fought Tifa, and then like Tifa did like one move and Zack just went like flying or something. Like it was actually really cool, but it was actually really funny too. Like that's something that you would expect to see in a Dead or Alive film, or want to see in a Dead or Alive film, because you know, it's not meant to be taken that seriously. If you look at the franchise, it's not that serious. Something that I've always loved is that playing the game and watching the combat's actually really sick. So I love how I could kind of almost feel that or get a sense of that with some of the fights here. The characters themselves and like the overall theme to Dead or Alive has never been too serious. Oftentimes you will see a lot of girls in bikinis and stuff, and then Zach, who like owns the island or whatever, you know, like stuff like that. With it's like Dead or Alive, you can't take it too serious. I mean, there are ninjas that are pretty badass from the Ninja Gaiden series and everything, but yeah, you know, overall Dead or Alive definitely has its like charm and its moments where it just likes to be fun, and that's what I would kind of expect in a movie, and I think that's what they kind of went for with this, and I'm glad, because yeah, like I had a lot of fun watching it. Like I said, some of the fight scenes were pretty cool. The fight scene with Tifa and Zach was pretty cool. Also, one of the things about Dead or Alive and Dead or Alive story modes in general is that there's always a moment where Ayane just shows up out of nowhere, like just randomly, and then she's like, all right, Kasumi, it's time to fight. Like that literally always happens at random times in the games, so I'm glad that they stuck to that tradition and kept that in this movie. Like Ayane just shows up and's like, all right, Kasumi, it's time to fight. Like that literally happens more than once, which is good because that's literally how it happens in the games. But it's cool because like, yeah, that happens, and the fights with Kasumi and Ayane are pretty dope in this film. Like I must say, that fight where they're like in the forest with bamboo and everything, like they were kind of going in on that scene, bro. Like I'm not gonna count. And yeah, I feel like another thing about this movie that was actually pretty surprising and kind of pleasant was it's the fact that the movie never slows down too much to the point where you get bored. Even when there's two characters talking and there's not fighting, there's not action going on, they never slow down too much to where things get too boring. Like right around the time where you start to think, okay, something's got to happen, it usually happens. Usually it happens. A fight breaks out or something comedic happens. Like it always kind of has something there. The movie never gets boring, and I think that that is something that's pretty cool. I also liked most of the character iterations in the film. I think a lot of them stayed true to their characters in the games, especially Tina. They did Tina really well. You know, Zach is alright. The only one I will not agree with is Helena. I don't know what they were thinking with Helena, but yeah, Ayane, Kasumi, you know, all of them are pretty dope. Hayabusa is kind of whack in this film, I will say, but you know, it's interesting, right? Because Kasumi, Hayabusa, Hayate, they're all, you know, Asian in the movie. Like they kind of nailed it when it comes to like a lot of things I feel like Hollywood wouldn't nail with something like this, but they you know, they kind of surprised me with that. Yeah, I mean, Genfu's even in there, and like they got people in there and they looked the part for the most part. They didn't try to focus on too many different characters, which I thought was a nice touch. But yeah, they did pretty well, and I liked how they had a main focus on a lot of the female characters in the movie, because I feel like when most people play Dead or Alive, that is kind of the main thing people focus on, is the female characters of the games. I feel like the main characters of this movie were the females. Like these were the main stars, and you can definitely tell by just like the opening intro sequences of all the characters. They're all female, and it's just great. It's great. I like how the male characters kind of take a step back with this film, and you know, it's nice to like have that female focus. Now obviously, of course, like the main boss, villain, antagonist guy, it's a guy, and honestly, like, it's kind of whack. I mean, basically in this film, there's another film original character that like hooks up with Elena or whatever, and like honestly, I will say the one thing I really hate about this movie was everything that was film original. I don't know what they were thinking when they made these characters, but every time a film original character was on the screen, they probably shouldn't have been, you know? It kind of sucked. But yeah, and the fight scenes were pretty cool and pretty great up until they get to like the final cave area where that guy is just like stealing all their powers and stealing all their fight techniques and stuff, and then they're fighting in this like secret base or whatever. Those fights were kind of whack, to be honest. Then it was just kind of like, okay, well, now the movie can end. And to be honest, like not very long after the movie did end. I mean, the movie's pretty short. Like the movie is always going. It always keeps you going and keeps you entertained with something on the screen. On top of that, it's really not that long at all. So I can say that, you know, the movie was pretty enjoyable to watch, considering, you know, it really wasn't that long and there was never really a dull moment. So yeah. Also, they didn't make Christy's hair white. Why didn't they make Christy's hair white? But yeah, obviously the movie could have been better. I mean, especially, you know, if they included the best character from Dead or Alive being Mila, best girl. But obviously I know they couldn't have done that because by the time this movie came out, Mila I don't even think was introduced to the series yet. So I mean, the movie could have been better, I guess, but like again, it's just like, what can you really expect from like a Dead or Alive movie? Like, I feel like, again, the things that I wanted I kind of got, and that's why I feel like I enjoyed the movie. I mean, I can't really tell you, again, aside from like the movie original characters, all that much of what I would have wanted differently. Yeah, I feel like it was kind of nice. And honestly, there were parts where it kind of reminded me of like Kill Bill in a way, with some of the fights and everything and badass females on the screen. Like, it was nice. It honestly was kind of cool. There was a lot of things about this movie that banged, I will say. All right, so really quickly, upon editing this video, I've done some research and actually realized that Donovan, who is the main villain of the movie, is actually canon and is the main antagonist of the games. But as I said before, the stories have never really been done all that well, so it's no surprise that even I wasn't aware of the fact that there's this guy Donovan who's actually the main antagonist of the series and such. But yeah, he's actually the main antagonist, so I guess considering that Donovan, who is the main antagonist of the series, only made an appearance in Dead or Alive Dimensions, or that was his first appearance. But yeah, going into a little bit of spoilers here, at the end where Donovan starts stealing everybody's moves and everything like that, it gave me heavy Raito vibes, and I was thinking that that was kind of what they were going for, but the guy's name wasn't Raito, and Raito's the only like antagonist that I was aware of the series, because I actually got into the series with DOA 5 and played a lot of 6. Didn't get to play 4 unfortunately, but yeah. So my idea of the main antagonist was Raito, and it seemed like that's kind of what they were going for with that whole making the ultimate fighter and stealing everyone's moves kind of vibes. So I guess what they actually did was make Donovan the main antagonist of the film while also giving off the Raito vibes. It's kind of crazy. Like, in theory, on paper, I feel like this would be a good idea, but with the way that it was executed, I don't know if I can really say that, to be honest. I still think the movie original character Weatherby has got to go. That man has got to go. He does not belong in DOA universe at all. He does not belong in this film at all. Please get rid of that man. But the main villain, like I said, it was just, it was alright, you know. It could have been done much better. But I think for the tone and what the movie was going for, it was, you know, it was alright. And yeah, I think that the people that may have been watching this movie and giving it bad reviews were probably taking it too seriously, to be honest, which I think is just their mistake, because from the tone and everything about this movie, even from just the beginning, like, you can tell this is not a serious movie. Yeah, I don't think I would be happy with a serious, like, Dead or Alive film, you know? I feel like if we got a really serious, dramatic, like, heartbreaking Dead or Alive film that was like, you know, super serious and no comedy really, just all like gritty and stuff, like, I don't think I would want that, you know. I don't think I would want that. I think I would want something more like this that's kind of fun, not afraid to get sexy, sleazy, and funny, and just kind of play around with its characters and stuff, because yeah, Dead or Alive is just fun. It can get serious, of course, but yeah, like, I don't know. And I do feel like the movie does get a little bit serious at times with, you know, like with the conflict between Ayane and Kasumi, and then there's like this whole backstory going on with Hayate and everything, and I feel like that's honestly kind of how serious DOA gets. Like, it's like there's always something kind of serious happening with Hayate and Kasumi, and maybe sometimes Helena, but other than that, it's not all that serious. Like, the stories never really get all that serious, so that's why I'm just kind of like, you know, I had a fun time watching the film. I can't honestly say all that much bad about it. I'm sure if I was to direct the film, I would have a much different vision from it and everything, but the things that I would change would mostly just be like a lot of the visual flair and, like, you know, the production design, the characters, the cast, and yeah, I would probably try to have somewhat of a better story in there, I guess. But I think for the most part, like I've said before, these fighting game films tend to try and have this story that just gets all these characters on the screen to fight each other really quickly, and they tend to go for like the tournament route, right? And this one kind of does that, but to be honest, it kind of works. I feel like they kind of had to do something like this. Again, to be honest, like, Dead or Alive really doesn't like explain their reasons for fighting and stuff all that well much either. So it's just like, you know, I feel like this movie did a decent job of like doing that, and it kind of worked. I liked how they're on this island and they can like fight each other anytime. I think it's kind of a cool concept, to be honest. But yeah, like, you know, this film did that, and yeah, the story, you know, there's not much story there, let's be honest. But the fights, I think, were pretty cool. I think this movie, as opposed to Tekken, this movie had better fights. The fights were more creative. They stayed more true to the series, with like a lot of the angles and like just the choreography. In comparison to Tekken, this movie had better fights, but I think Tekken had a better story that works more for it as a film. But again, it's not like that big of a deal, I feel like, to me. I know, you know, we say stories everything in film, but I mean, it just really, it was all right, you know. I feel like story for Dead or Alive, it's just got to be something that makes sense and that's fun, and this one pretty much did that, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say for this one, guys. What do you guys think of the Dead or Alive movie from Hollywood? If you've seen it, definitely let me know in the comments below. Leave a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, that helps me out a ton. And yeah, if you guys want to see more fighting game live action videos like this, definitely let me know by hitting that bell notification to stay tuned for all the content that I'm going to be bringing you. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see y'all in the next video. First